Good morning, students, and welcome to the class. Yesterday, we were discussing about latitudes, and we have seen that there are four major latitudes, and these are Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, and Antarctic Circle. Now, we will see the heat zones of the Earth. We have discussed about this also, and in order to understand the heat zones, in order to understand the amount of heat which Earth receives from the sun is not equal at all the parts of the Earth. We find that there is one zone which lies between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. This is the zone which receives maximum heat. Why does it receive maximum heat? It receives maximum heat because between these latitudes, between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, but we find that midday sun is exactly overhead at least once a year on all latitudes between these Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. It can be understood from this also. It's we can see that the surface is straight. Okay, this is the straight surface, and this is the light of the torch. When the surface is straight, we find that the amount of the light covers this is the we can say this is the amount of the light which covers this much area. And how the light is falling straight. Okay, so the it is covering less area if we compare it to this situation. In this situation, what was the condition? The surface is straight. Okay, and when we see this situation, what is the difference between these two situation? The in this situation, the surface is slanting, and because of this slanting surface, what is happening that the light of the torch, the amount of light is same in both the condition. You can see in this condition the amount is same. In this condition, both the conditions, amount of the light is same, which is coming from the torch. But what is the difference? The difference is in the area covered by the light. In this situation, when the surface is straight, the light is covering only a small area. This is the area which is covered by the light. Okay, this is the area. Now we can see that when the light is slanting, this is covering a bigger area. So, what will be the consequence of this situation? Because light is same, the amount of light is same, but the area covered by that light is different. When the surface is straight, the area covered is smaller, and if we compare it to the area when it is when we compare it to the area which is covered by the torch when the surface is slanting. So the consequence will be that the amount of light and heat will be lesser in this area because the area is large. So the amount of the heat and the amount of the light will be lesser in this area. And in this area, the amount of light and heat will be more. And remember, we are talking all these things in comparison only. We are comparing these two situations only, and when we are comparing these two situations, what we find that the area covered by in this situation is smaller than the area which is covered in this situation. And the consequence of this, it will be that the heat and light will be more in this situation, and heat and light will be less in this situation. Now the same condition prevails on the earth also. This is torrid zone. This is the area which lies between Tropic of Cancer. This is Tropic of Cancer. It is, we are assuming only in order to understand the matter. ठीक है? तो this is the area which is called Torrid Zone. The upper line is Tropic of Cancer and the lower line is Tropic of Capricorn. Now, in this area, what we find that the light of the sun is straight. This is what we are saying, that the midday sun is exactly overhead. It means the sunlight or the ray of the sun is falling straight, and that is the reason this area receives the maximum heat, and this is called the torrid zone. You underline these all in your notebook. Okay, and this is also important, which what do you mean by torrid zone? The area covered by Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. The area covered between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn is known as torrid zone. Okay. Now, this is temperate zone. Why it is temperate zone? Because temperate zone is that area where the angle of the sun's rays goes on decreasing. When we move from equator towards poles, what happens? You can see in this picture. Uh, Now, this is the area where the sunlight is falling straight. Okay. Now, when we start moving from this area towards the poles, what happens that the angle of the sun's rays keeps decreasing. At this place, it is falling straight. But when we see this place, which lies between Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere, and Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. In this region, the light of the sun is falling in the slanting direction. Okay, and because of this, what happens that the same amount of sunlight and sun heat is covering the larger areas because of this slanting surface, and this is the reason why there is so much cold and less heat in the temperate zone. These are the rays of the sun. Okay. So, this is the condition which is prevailing, and because of this, the temperate zone receive lesser heat, and these are called temperate zone. Okay, so the areas bounded by the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere, and the Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere have moderate temperature, and this is called the temperate zone. Okay, and why the moderate temperature? Because of because the ray of the sun is not falling straight, but it is in slanting direction. The angle formed by the sun rays keeps decreasing when we move from equator to poles. Now we are considering this fizzy region. Fizzy region is the uh, third heat zone. This is, you can see here, from Arctic Circle to North Pole in the northern hemisphere, and from Antarctic Circle to South Pole in the southern hemisphere. This zone is known as frigid zone. As the name suggests, this is very cold zone. Why it is very cold? Because we see that in temperate zone, the light of the sun is falling slanting. But when we move farther towards the poles, what we find, that the rays of the sun are becoming more slanting. The angle which is formed by sun rays becomes very low when we go towards poles, and this is the reason in this frigid zone what we find that the sun does not rise much above the horizon. It never comes overhead. It is always at the most of the times it is all at the horizon. And you will be surprised to know that on the poles, on both the poles, south pole and north pole, we experience day and night of 6 months duration. There is a 6 months day and 6 months night. That is also because of its distance from the equator, and the light of the sun is falling in a slanting way. That is the reason that it experiences that type of situation. Okay, so this is called a frigid zone. uh, you can underline this areas lying between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole in the northern hemisphere, and the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole in the southern hemisphere are very cold, and this is called the frigid zone. Okay. So now we are proceeding further. We have discussed about latitudes. We have discussed about different heat zones. These heat zones are occurring because of because the sun is not falling in the similar way on all the latitudes of the earth. There is a variation in the pattern of the falling of sun ray on various latitudes, and because of this variation different latitudes of the earth receives not we can say different, all the latitudes are receiving different heat, but because of this difference what happens that the earth is divided into three heat zones. Okay, so now we are considering about the new term, that is longitudes. Okay, now what is our aim? The aim of this chapter is to locate a place on the earth's surface. Okay, and in order to locate a place on the earth's surface, we have drawn uh, imaginary line which are which are parallel to the equator, and they are called latitudes. Okay, now what we find that latitudes are not complete solution for the for locating any place on the earth's surface, because it is only explaining the location of a place in in relation to equator. Okay, suppose you can see it how if we are knowing only about the latitudes of any place, we will not be able to locate that place exactly on the earth's surface. How the problem arise? What is the problem in that? You can see here there is Tonga Island in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, we are talking about two islands. One island is Tonga Island. Okay, and the another island is Mauritius. Now, Tonga Island is in the Pacific Ocean and Mauritius Island is in the Indian Ocean. Both are both Tonga and Mauritius. Both are situated on the same latitude, that is 20 degree south. That is both Mauritius and Tonga are situated in the southern hemisphere, and from equator they are at the distance of 20 degrees. Okay, now we want to locate precisely Tonga. Okay, and we want to locate precisely Mauritius. So what will be the problem? We are knowing only that these two places are at the 20 degrees south, but we are not knowing any given line of reference which is running from north to south. By this, by reference of this line, we can know how far east or west these places are, because we are knowing only the latitudes. We are not knowing any line of reference by which we can refer that this place is how far east or west, okay, from that line of reference. So this is the problem. If we are knowing only the latitudes, uh, we won't be able to locate that place precisely. I can explain you by showing this. You can see here. This is 20 degrees south. Okay. And this line is running all. We are seeing only the one part of the earth. It is a two-dimensional picture, but earth is a three-dimensional thing. So, this line is running the whole. Okay, so Tonga and Mauritius both are situated in on 20 degrees south. Now we won't be able to locate Tonga. Can we locate Tonga here? Can we locate Mauritius here? No, we cannot, because we have to know a line of reference. There must be something which can tell us that these places, this Tonga and Mauritius is situated how how far east or west from a line of reference which is running from north to south. So, uh, by knowing latitude, it is only a half knowledge. We cannot locate any place by knowing the latitudes only. We need to know the something else, and that is what? That is longitudes. Okay. So, in order to know exact place of a exact location of a place, we draw some more imaginary lines, and now these imaginary lines are drawn from north pole to the south pole. Okay, and these lines which are drawn from north pole to south pole are called meridian of longitudes. Okay, so you can underline this from here. In order to locate them precisely, locate the places, you can write them, locate the places precisely, we must find out how far east or west these places are from a given line of reference running from the north pole to the south poles. This south pole. These lines of references are called the meridian of longitudes. Okay. So now you can see in the picture how these lines are drawn. This is North Pole, and we are not able to see both the poles. The lines are drawn from the North Pole to the South Pole. It can drawn from the South Pole to the North Pole also. Both are same. Okay. So in this line you can see there is a zero. This is 0 degree, and this is 180 degree. Okay, so this is the same line. You can see 0 degree, this is 0 degree. I'm doing it like this. Dekho, this is 0 degree now, and it ended at one North Pole. Now, if we move it further, if we move, sorry, if we move it further, we see that it is 180 degree. In 0 degree and 180 degree, there is no mention of east or west. Okay, this is the line 180 degree, which is 0 degree in front. That longitude of meridian is 180 degree in the back. So this is not written east or west. Now what we find that there are many meridians of longitude. These are the meridians of longitude. This is 30 degree west. This is 60 degree west. This is 90 degree west and 120 degree and 150 degree. In the same way, this in this part we can see 150 degree east, 120 degree east, 90 degree east, and 60 degrees, okay, and 30 degrees. So these are the lines which are drawn from north pole to south pole or south pole to north pole, okay. And the distance between these two are measured in degree. How do we measure the degree? How do we measure the longitude? It is measured in degree. Each degree is further divided into minutes and minutes into seconds. They are semicircles and distance between them decreases steadily towards pole until it becomes zero at the poles where all meridians meet. Okay, so first thing you have to remember that the distance between the meridians of longitudes are measured in degree. Okay, and then what happens, this degree is divided into minutes, and these minutes are divided into seconds. And we can see in this picture that all the meridians of longitudes meet at the poles. Okay, there the distance between the two longitudes are the highest at the equator. When they are at equator, the distance between the two longitudes are the highest. But when it starts moving towards the poles, what happens that the distance between the two longitudes become decreasing, and at the pole it becomes zero. And the same thing happens at the South Pole also. So, unlike parallels of latitude, all meridians are of equal length. What we saw in latitudes, that uh, latitudes are parallel to equator, and if we just imagine the shape of the earth, equator is dividing the earth into two equal halves. Okay, now uh, if we draw any line which is parallel to the equator, it will not be equal to the equator. It will be lesser than the length of the other latitudes will be lesser than the equator. And when we move towards the poles, the the length of the latitudes becomes lesser, because the shape of the earth is such that when we move towards poles, the distance of the latitudes becomes lesser. But when we see longitudes, we find that longitudes are of equal size. All the longitudes are starting from one pole and meeting at the another pole. All are starting from one point and ending at one point. So their length is similar. Okay, so it was difficult to number the meridians. We cannot number the meridians in the context of uh, in the context of latitudes. We have told now there are four important latitudes, but in longitudes we cannot say like that. Okay, all countries, how do they how do longitudes help us in locating a place, and how do longitude help us in time, in calculating the time? It will be discussed. Okay, the most important function which is done by longitude is the calculation of time. You know, earth is always moving. Okay, and the rays of the sun is not falling uh, at all the places of the earth in the similar way, and because of that, what happens, one part of the earth receives sunlight, and in that part there is daytime, and the one part of the earth is not receiving the light of the sun, and there we experience night time. So uh, So what is the situation? The situation is this, that in on Earth, all the places are having different times. Now, how to calculate this time? Okay, in order to calculate this time, we have made one prime meridian. Okay, I told you just now na, about the 0 degree meridian. This is the 0 degree meridian, and this same meridian is 180 degree at the back, and this meridian is called the prime meridian. Okay, so all countries decided that the count should begin from the meridian which passed through the Greenwich, where the British Royal Observatory is located. This meridian is called prime meridian. Okay, its value is 0 degree longitude, and from it we count 180 degree eastward as well as 180 degree westward. So this 0 degree longitude is considered as prime meridian, and this 0 degree longitude, it passes through the Greenwich. Okay, this is very important, not only to learn, not only to memorize, but you should understand it very well, because this is the basic thing which is which must be understood if you want to understand the different time zones of the world, how uh, in different countries we experience different times. Okay, so this is very much important. So you underline this, that the meridian which passed through Greenwich. Greenwich is a place in Britain, and at this place, British Royal Observatory is located. So this Greenwich, the meridian which passes through the Greenwich is called prime meridian. And what is the value of this prime meridian? The value of this prime meridian is 0 degree. Okay. Now this is understood to you now, that this 0 degree longitude is the prime meridian. It passes through British Royal Observatory, which is at Greenwich. Greenwich is a place. Okay, it's a place in Britain, and in that, at that place at Greenwich, there is British Royal Observatory. So this 0 degree passes through that British Royal Observatory. Now, what is done uh, there from this 0 degree longitude in this direction, which is lying in this direction, west. West is this side and this side is east. So what is done? These all are imaginary line. Okay. Now we have drawn 180 lines in the western side. You can here only some lines are drawn. Actually, there are 180 lines. This is 0 degree, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, 4 degree, 5 degree, 6 degree, ऐसे कर करके ये कहाँ तक गया है 180 degree west. Okay. And in the eastern direction also, the longitudes of 180 degree has been drawn. 1 degree east, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, ऐसे कर करके it goes up to 180 degree east. But when it reaches 180 degree east, what we see that both are same. 180 degree west and 180 degree east is same because there is only 360 degree in a circle. What is the value of this circle? What is the degree of the circle? It's 360 degree. So this is 180 degree. From this up to this, it is 180 degree. And from this up to this, it is also 180 degree. So this is the line, and this line is same. 180 degree east and 180 degree west is the same line, which is running in accordance with the 0 degree. Okay. So both these lines have been drawn. So the prime meridian and 180 degree meridian divide the earth into two equal halves. Now what we are seeing that the equator was there which was dividing the earth into two equal halves. That was north and south. है ना? Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Now we see that the prime meridian, that is 0 degree, and the 180 degree meridian, if we join them, we find that these two meridians divide the earth into two equal halves. And what are these halves? The eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere. So equator is dividing the earth into northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, and the prime meridian and 180 degree longitude is dividing the earth into eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. Okay. So if a place is located in the eastern side of the eastern side of the prime meridian, then it is written as E. And if a place is located on the western side of the meridian, it is written as W. So now this is all for today. uh, keep studying. All these are things are very much interesting if you understand them. Okay, try to understand them, and just go through the book and watch the video any number of time you want, and try to understand things in a proper manner, then you will have a very much interest in this. So we will now meet tomorrow.